Welcome to our class on aging your money. Today we're going to be talking about the paycheck to paycheck cycle, the benefits of older money, and how specifically to age your money. But before we get started tonight, I do want to tell you a little story about how things were for me before I started using YNAB. I was always pretty good about paying my monthly bills. I just had to make sure that I timed everything very carefully. I used to be a public school teacher and I got paid twice a month. My first check of the month was used for paying the mortgage, and there was usually some left over for groceries and gas. My other check was for all the other bills. And I can actually remember calling some of my creditors, like the phone company and the electric company, and asking them to change the due date on the bill so that all the bills wouldn't come out of the same check as the mortgage. And this did work as long as nothing bad happened. But something bad always happens. My own personal nemesis was the car insurance bill. It was every 6 months, and I knew that, but I just could not be ready for that bill. And anytime something like that happened, I'd end up scaling back wherever I could. Eventually, I ended up carrying a credit card balance that I just sort of always carried. And every month was this guessing game of what's going to ruin my life this month. I was essentially stuck in the paycheck to paycheck cycle, and it was hugely stressful for me. That stress was what sent me searching for a solution, and that's how I found YNAB. Now, I'm willing to bet that some of this sounds familiar to you. I know I'm not the only one who's ever felt stress when it came to money. And the reason that I know this is because we talk to a lot of people about money. We know it's a major source of stress and anxiety, and when you're stressed about money, it affects every part of your life. Now, maybe some of you feel like I did, right? Maybe you have bills to pay, but you can't pay them because you're waiting for the next paycheck to arrive. Maybe you're not even sure whether or not you'll make it to the next check. For some of you, it might be a little bit different. You feel secure enough day to day, and you know the paycheck's going to cover everything, but you feel like you can never get ahead. You're making good money, but you feel like you're treading water. Well, regardless of which camp you're in, this is the paycheck to paycheck cycle. Stressful. So we're always looking for ways to break the cycle. You hear that all the time, break the paycheck to paycheck cycle. Well, if you don't address the root cause, it's really difficult. But we at YNAB, we know the root cause of the paycheck to paycheck cycle. We figured it out. And more importantly, we know exactly what to do to fix it. The problem is your money isn't old enough. Just imagine for a second that $1 is born the day it enters your life. So if you're paid on Friday and broke again on Monday, you're spending dollars that are just a few days old. They barely arrive and they're right back out the door. So take a minute and think about that. How long do you think your dollars are hanging around in your account before you have to spend them? Is it a few days? Maybe a week? Maybe you're not sure how long they're hanging around, right? Maybe that's where your stress is coming from. Well, to break this cycle, you need to age your money. You need to increase the time between receiving and spending. So imagine being paid on Friday and you don't need those dollars right away. You're able to pay the bills easily when they arrive. Imagine getting a paycheck and you've still got a big chunk of the last paycheck left. You're building momentum and your dollars don't leave your life so quickly. When your money's older, your budgeting gets less hectic and you have more time to plan and you make better decisions. When your money's older, you're more secure. So I'm going to walk you through a demonstration of aging my money. Now, when I started YNAB back here in June, I entered what I had on hand and I had to spend almost all of it immediately. It didn't have a chance to hang around very long. Look at this. Scroll down here to the bottom. My starting balance was on June 15th, and then immediately I had to start writing checks. All these bills were due, and I had to pay them. We were out of groceries. The cars were out of gas. Look at the dates on the transactions. Money was literally flying out of my checking account. Now, over on the budget back in June, look at my categories. At the end of the month, there was hardly anything left. I had a total of $25 left. Just a few dollars left in groceries and gas. Folks, $25 is nothing. You could sneeze and spend $25. So this month, all I could really do was put out the fires that were in front of me, right? I paid the bills. I had to buy some clothes for the kids. I had a birthday present for someone. And then I had to a doctor visit, so we had that copay. I was right on the edge. I almost overdrafted. My money was leaving about 2 days after it arrived. 2 days. This is why it feels so stressful. That's not nearly long enough to make me feel secure. So right away, I'm checking the calendar, wondering when that next paycheck's going to arrive. So 2 days, what does that really mean? Imagine that regardless of when a dollar is deposited into an account, you're always spending the oldest dollar in your budget. Accountants call this first in, first out. Are you spending money you earned yesterday or last month or somewhere in between? For me, back here in June, it was 2 days. And this is what age of money measures. It measures how long money is in your budget before you spend it. It's measuring velocity, right? How fast is money moving through my budget? In my case, at this point, unfortunately, it was pretty fast. Well, when you spend less than you earn, your age of money will gradually go up. Spend more and it will go down. So let's think about this for a minute. We rely on our money for stability, security, and flexibility. A long time ago, before there was money, people relied on food for these things. So I want to talk about that just for a second. I want to talk about grain silos. And trust me, I am going somewhere with this. Now, let's say you're a farmer. You don't want to eat all your grain the same day you harvest it. You'd be right on the edge. So instead, you store some of it in a grain silo. You build up a reserve so you can expand the time between harvest and feast. Grain enters here at the top, right? And leaves at the bottom down here. Now, if you don't have very much grain, you're pulling it out of the bottom almost as soon as you put it in. So naturally, if you have more grain, it's going to take longer to fall to the bottom. So what does this mean? Well, this provides stability, security, and flexibility through lean times when food is scarce. When money moves slowly through your budget, it does the same thing. It provides reserves. So in YNAB, your money works the same way. Older money gives you security. Imagine money going into the silo at the top and sinking to the bottom. You're always spending your oldest dollar. So let's see now where I'm at with aging my money. Let's go back to our demonstration and let's move forward to July. In this month, I've made a major accomplishment. I've slowed down how long it takes a dollar to leave by prioritizing. Remember last month when I only had $25 left? Well, now look, there's a total of $775 left available across all my categories. That money will sit patiently and wait to do its job. And as it waits, it will age. So my money is now 6 days old, 3 times older than last month. That means money's hanging around almost a week before it leaves. And I did this by really thinking about what I want and need my money to do. I'm starting to set some money aside for things, right? My money's hanging around longer and growing older. Now this sounds pretty good, right? This is what we're all after, a little bit of breathing room. So how did I do it? How did I slow things down and age those dollars? It wasn't a magic trick. I did it by following YNAB's first 3 rules. When you give every dollar a job and you're following Rule 1, you're more aware of what your money is doing. So your spending has a higher bar. When you spend a dollar, you know you don't have it for something else, so naturally you want to make sure it's there for your priorities. The result of this is that you spend less than you earn, and that will naturally create a longer and longer delay between when you receive money and when you spend it. Just like eating less than you harvest means there's more time before you'll need to harvest more grain. Spending less than you earn means more time before you'll need more money. You also learn to embrace your true expenses and budget for those less frequent bills. Those dollars don't get spent immediately, so they just sit in the bank and age. This helped me more than anything else when I got started, and it went beyond the car insurance bill that I mentioned earlier. You see, I'm one of those people. I have cats. multiple cats. I have one on my desk right now as I'm talking to you, but they are really expensive. So I would have a good month going and I'd feel like I was making great progress. And then a huge vet bill would pop up and just ruin my normal month. And that was always a credit card charge for me. I just wasn't preparing for those expenses. So now when something happens, I'm ready because I've been saving in my cat category. Now these dollars will wait until I need them and age. Now you might not have cats. Maybe you have dogs or kids, right? But these types of things happen to everybody, and Rule 2 is going to keep you covered. Now with Rule 3, you're going to roll with the punches when you need to. And just remember, it's okay to change your budget. You can adjust and adapt. And that will keep you in the game over the long haul. And if you can stay in the game, your money will continue to age. So these 3 rules really help you let money sit. Without those rules, that would be really hard to do because you'd be looking at the bank balance and the money seems to be there for the spending. But when you're giving every dollar a job, your spending decisions are made by seeing what's available in each category. You're going to quickly find yourself with older money and more of it. So let's see how things have transpired here. Let's move over to August and see how things were. Now, in this month, I budgeted for my immediate obligations. I'm making payments on my debt every month faithfully to knock those down. Remember last month when I started setting money aside for my true expenses, right? Well, I added to those categories this month, and those are really starting to grow. This is huge for me. Look here at gifts, right? I have $100 set aside for gifts. Look at car insurance. And look here at auto maintenance, right? When the cars needed tires for inspection, it cost $180, but I was ready because I had budgeted $100 last month. Those dollars sat around. I added some more. I added another $100 this month, and boom, I was able to pay this no problem at all. This is the real tangible result of aging your money. Now, at this point, I'd made such good progress that I've even built up money in my quality of life goals and my just for fun categories. And notice, it's not just about saving for these things, right? But spending too, guilt-free. I was able to do that no problem. So at the end of this month, I was at 13 days. That's more than double the previous month. Now, this brings up a little bit of a question, right? How old should your money be? Well, we do have a recommendation for you. We want you to age your money at least 30 days. Consider that a starting point to aim for. If your money's a month old, then you can go for an entire month without getting paid and you'd still be okay. How amazing would that feel? It's great. So let's now go back and see how things are looking. It's now September, and as you can see, I have finally arrived at 30 days. Great. And I just got my final paycheck of the month. So let's go ahead and enter that September paycheck. We got that paycheck on the 29th. And that money is to be budgeted. And it was $1,900. So let's go over to the budget and check in on my categories. I want to make sure this month is all set. Well, my bills are all budgeted and paid for, so that's super. True expenses are looking good. Those are really starting to grow. I'm cranking away on the debt. Good, good. So this month is looking good so far. I have a few things to fill out in my just for fun categories. I'm going to go ahead and add $25 here to gaming. Let's bring music up a little bit. Let's bring that up to $40. And for fun money, I'm going to budget $50 there. So I've got some pocket money, some walking around money. All right, so at this point, I've taken care of the entire month of September, and I still have $1,800 to be budgeted, right? Well, what about next month? Could I start assigning dollars there? That would make things really secure and predictable. So I'm going to move over to October and I'm going to go ahead and budget those dollars there. This is another way you age your money. I'm sending it to the future where it's going to sit, wait for me, and grow old. Now you can see that I've set up some goals here in some of my categories. For example, I've got a goal to budget $900 every month to my rent category. I've got one for the electric bill, and I've also got some goals set up down here for my debt payments. I'm going to go ahead and budget for those things first, since those are underfunded, and we can see that right over here in the inspector. Okay, those are all my underfunded goals. So I'm going to go ahead and budget for those. Great, now my goals are all set. And I still have $180 left, so let's go ahead and finish this up. I'm going to put $40 to the water bill, budget for the internet bill, and I'm going to take that last $45 and put that toward groceries. Just getting a start there. But boy, does it feel awesome to be budgeting for these bills a month before they're even due. And this is just the start, really. Once you have money that's at least a month old, then you have more options and choices. Should you age it more? Should you fund other priorities that have been waiting? Maybe make some real investments in your future. And you'll have to ask yourself, when you get to 30 days, is that enough to give me the security, stability, and flexibility that I need? Maybe your income is highly variable. Older money can help you ride out those peaks and valleys, right? Or maybe you're like me and your personal risk tolerance is lower. You just want a little older money. Older money adds to your security. So let me remind you how I felt and what I was dealing with before I started budgeting with YNAB. I was timing my paychecks to bills. I was never ready for emergencies. I felt a near constant state of stress. And now I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. I have money for when things go wrong, and I love being a whole month ahead of my expenses. So I'm hoping this was resonating with you, and I'm hoping you're thinking now about how you would feel if your money was a little bit older. So you found our classes and you found our website. If you have any other questions that aren't answered there, feel free to give us a shout at help@youneedabudget.com.